Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to our podcast today. My name is Amy Tiemeyer, and this is my first time hosting Helping the Brave. And so I get to introduce my co-hosts, Ed and Mohawk Matt, and then also who is joining us today, Chris Maxwell. He works with me here in DuPont, Washington, and he's going to tell us his great Army stories. Take it away, Chris.
Hold on.
All right.
Hold on before you get going there.
Yeah.
That was very good, Amy. That's your first time. Great job. Next time, run around the building and then come in, and you can be a little less stressed. It gets easier. I've only been doing this like 3 years. Matt does this daily as his job. So I do a radio show. It takes a while to get used to it. You just got to get to the point where, we're here to share other people's stories. And if we mess up, that's just great. So don't worry about it. It's no matter. All right. Now I'll let you give it back. I apologize for cutting in there, but great job there, Amy. Great job.
Thank you, Ed. Go ahead, Chris.
All right. Sounds good. So y'all cut me off whenever you need to. I am fairly famous for talking a lot. And I used to have a major who told me all the time, said, Chris, you need to just take the emotion out of the job. Take the emotion out. Well, I can be very emotional about things sometimes. So anyway, if I get long-winded, just let me know. So I joined the Army in February 1997. Long time ago, much different Army than it is today, for sure. I'm 11 Bravo, parachutist, so Airborne, Jumpmaster, Combat Infantryman. I did serve in every position minus Command Star Major during my time in the infantry. I retired in February of 2017. I have had a smile on my face since February 28th, 2017. So now the Army gets to pay me, which is great. I guess I've had 3 deployments, 1 to Afghanistan, 2 to Iraq, 03, 04 with the 1st Striker Brigade, 1st Brigade, 3rd Infantry Division, or 3rd Brigade, 2nd Infantry Division, and then redeployed with them again during the surge in 06, 07 as Infantry Platoon Sergeant, and then Afghanistan with the 2nd Airborne Division. And I was 1st Sergeant of Dog Company, Delta Company 1504, 1st Brigade, Devils in Baggy Pants, awesome brigade down there. And it's pretty much like my Army thing. As any veteran, I've probably been through just about as much as anybody else could, I guess, during that time. The Army served me very, very well. I remember the first time when I was thinking about re-enlisting was prior to September 11th. It was a few months prior to that. My wife was pregnant, and I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. 4 years in the Army, I'd already graduated college. And I said, I remember telling my wife probably in May of 2001, honey, it's okay if I re-enlist. I'm getting a little tiny bonus as the E4, or as the E5. They're going to send me, to be a staff sergeant here soon. And don't worry, we're never going to go to war. There's nobody in this world that hates us right now. Everything is going to be fine. And then September 11th happened, and I don't think I was home again until I retired. So
hold on. I have a question. I don't mean to cut you off, but when did you join? When you were 12?
No, gosh,
you retired.
No.
Well,
you look too young to be 20 years in.
Agree. I thought you were like 25, 30.
I was like, he must have been like Matt, medically retired.
No, it's because the blue light, man. This is what old people do. We don't know how to use these rings that they got and stuff like that. We just sign, give me a little light, give me a little color, I guess. I don't know. Now it's the beard covers up everything well, for sure.
Well, whatever you're doing, keep it going, obviously. Without drinking the fountain of youth.
No, I'm almost 50, man. I'm old. I can't run anymore. I don't do any of that stuff anymore. I only run if a bear's chasing me. That's it, man. Not running otherwise. And I got a really slow guy with me, All
right. So I just a couple more questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Because I know it's all right. I know you could keep talking, but I just want to interact a little bit. So you were airborne. You were airborne? right? And then you also were infantry.
Also infantry, correct.
All right, and then did you after you were did you change your service to be? Did I hear you became an officer, or or did I hear that wrong? I'm sorry.
No, I was a first sergeant.
Okay, first sergeant. Sorry.
Yeah, almost the last duty station. So I came back here to the NCO Academy to retire. Became their operations sergeant major. Pretty easy gig, 1 hour a day.
Right. I got you, Chris. Senior Chief Ed. It's senior.
No, I got it. I know. I got it.
I know.
That's why I was like, did I hear that right? I mean, it's hard to understand Army people because it's really hard to understand my son, because he's, oh, by the way, my son is a medic in the Army Airborne in Alaska.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Jumping into snow piles. That's great.
And it's amazing how fast you guys make rank. It really is. It really is. It's like,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when in the Navy, you're like, okay, I've been an E4 for like 7-8 years, right?
Yeah, I made 7 and 7. A lot of people used to be angry at me. You made E7 in 7 years? Yeah, I made E7 in 7.
Yeah.
You got to work though, man. It's not like you're just sitting back watching the show. And things are different. Combat's going on. I mean, if you're good at that stuff, you get promoted quick. And a lot of people were getting out too. They didn't want to go 12 months to Iraq, right? So a lot of opportunities in the infantry to move up quick. And then 8 and 11, and then I kind of stalled out there. And then at 17, I made up my mind. There's no way I want to do an extra, get to 23 to get retirement for E9. So
I think it was his stories stalled him out.
Yeah, I got some good stories, man. I've done some dumb stuff in the Army.
I think we all have done stupid stuff in the military.
You ever ran from your night vision goggles before? Because I have.
No, I was
really
never.
Yeah, really late night, really tired, long walk. Thought it was an animal, took off running. They kept chasing me, so I kept running faster.
So did you get away, or did it get you?
I didn't get away. I finally realized that my knots were tied off into my butt pack, and they fell out of my butt pack. That's in the old Army, right? So they're tied off in my butt pack. At least they were tied off, right? They fell out, hit me in the shoe. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. We're in the middle of the swamp in Louisiana. Yeah, there's so many things. If it moves, it kills you in Louisiana, right? The knots fell out. I saw them on the ground. I took a couple steps back. They came towards me, and I was like, that's got to be something poisonous and dangerous, and I just took off running. Everybody else took off running too. You see one guy run, everybody runs, right? So I finally realized it's being chased by my night vision goggles. Not a story I'm super proud of, but it happened. And this guy made E8.
As I said, anybody can make rank in the Army.
So since you are, Chris, since you're infantry and airborne, I do got to tell you that you're getting laughed at by someone who's down in MARSOC right now. So I actually spent my day with this person, even though you can't see their name, because they're MARSOC. They hide themselves, right?
Right. Just a LinkedIn user, I gotcha. It could be anybody.
And what's even better than that? So I made fun of my son and you in the Army, and my wife's like, "Don't be mean, Ed."
Well, I do have a kind of quick, funny airborne story. So when I first joined, I get airborne school. You can be that 5-jump chump, right? Got my 5 jumps out of my airplane. I'm good. Now I'm airborne. Run around and show all the girls, right? And then went to JRTC. And I think I got 7 jumps while I was at JRTC as Op 4. So I leave out of there after 1 year, 12 jumps. I don't jump out of an airplane again for, I want to say 14 years.
Wow.
So I show up at Bragg. Now I'm basically what you could say. I think I had 11 jumps when I show back up at Bragg, right? And it's like 14 years later. The reserve has changed. They're talking about getting a new parachute. I'm the most scared of heights person. Like I can't stand on a chair and look down. I'll fall. It scares me to death to be up in the air at all. I don't clean my own gutters. That's why I have kids. They clean my gutters. I stand at the bottom. If they fall, I'll catch them, right? So I get on a C-130. I got my chute on. Everything's good. I'm like the number 4 jumper. And I go to jump out the thing, and I jump out, and instead of counting, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, looking up, my chute's open, I jump out and I scream some stuff I probably can't say on here. And I reach back and I grab my hamstring because I literally, you got to throw yourself out of the airplane. And I'm like, I got to throw myself out of the airplane. So I did. I jumped out of the airplane and I pulled my hamstring on the way out. So. My shoe opened though, man. That was good.
He's a one-man show. He should be on late night on comedy.
Right? I told you, I'm like, I got a guy.
Yeah, so now every time I run anywhere, like I go chase the dog, sometimes I twing my hamstring because of that jump.
Yeah, when my son was doing his jumps, they did all their jumps like the last 2 days, right? Because the weather and everything else, how bad it was. It's like, and then they didn't do the night one because of it. And then he got to Alaska, and he didn't jump because COVID, right? COVID hit, right? It's that. So he was for almost a year didn't jump. Now they're jumping all the time. He's so happy. So. Oh
yeah, they're all night jumps. He told you that, right? They're all night jumps. Doesn't matter if it's day or not. Everybody jumps with their eyes closed. That's what happens.
No, they only had one. They had one person who didn't jump out of all their class.
Oh, gotcha.
Because you can see him coming out, right? And then you're like, oh, there's a gap. Well,
right?
That guy didn't jump after him.
Yeah, I had a guy one time when I finally made it through Jumpmaster school, right? Took first Army course I ever failed, Jumpmaster school. Disbelief, hardest course in the world, right? So I finally passed Jumpmaster school, and I remember I'm a safety, and I'm getting soldiers. They're going out, and this kid, I could tell he's scared to death. He's sweating really bad, and it's cold up in the aircraft. Here he comes. He's lumbering down through there, holding the static cord. And he goes to jump out, and he decides halfway jumping out the door that he doesn't want to jump. So all I see, instead of seeing his back and his butt go off the plane, I see his face and his front, and it's just like fear and shock, and he's trying to reach back to me. I'm like, dude, I got an Air Force parachute on. I'm not jumping. You're crazy. I don't know if that thing's gonna work. It's like armor guys, death before dismount. I'm not getting out of my tank even if it's on fire.
All right, so you know this because when you jump at the school, right, and you're running back in after you dropped in the water or whatever there, with the jump school. My son's running, right? So my wife's like waiting for her to see her boy, right? The day that you can be there, and she's like waiting. All of a sudden, I'm saying this because she was rude to me. So she's running, and there's this kid coming up, and she's like, "I think that's Blake," and she's like, "Hey, baby, I love you," and it wasn't him. He came later, but you could tell when it was my son because he moved his arms faster than the rest of his body, so it looked like he was running. Right? He's so freaking lazy. Right? He's like,
right.
All you gotta do is move your arms faster. Then they don't yell at you to run.
Yeah, they think you're putting in effort, right?
Right.
Just like in basic training, when you're trying to make your bed, and you're like, dude, I need another 5 minutes. You just stick your fingers up in the webbing, and you just let them hang there and go to sleep.
Yeah, we do that.
Everybody
at night.
Thinks. Everybody thinks that. Yeah, that dude's still making his bed. He's been down there for 30 minutes.
Yeah, go clean, get under your bed and fix it. Right.
What branches did you guys join? I would have got slaughtered.
Not all. Yeah, not all of us were that way. We joined the Marine Corps. It's different for everybody. The Navy was. I was not really in the service because there's two different branches in the Navy. When you go to boot camp, there's two different divisions, and I got lucky to be in the other one. So
I told Amy today. I said I don't know anything about the Navy. I can't tell you nothing about the Navy. I know their football uniforms are super ugly, and I know they lose a lot to Army lately. That's about all I know.
Just lately, but overall, we win. That's why my son gives me so much crap because of it. It's like, you have no idea, boy.
All that matters is the last one. That's it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see about that this year.
Hey, Chris. Sorry. Why don't you go on to your transition story? Especially since way more recent than Ed and I's.
So my transition story. So I can give you the transition story. I can give you the transition story, right? Because there's always like two stories. There's a story that you have with your sergeant major when you transition as an E8, and then there's the story, right? So the story basically is I treated my transition like I treated any other mission that I did in the Army, because I'm still in the Army. That's what I know, and that's what I'm going to do. So I sat down, because my sergeant major kind of gave me a little smack, He was like, we really need you around here. We need you to do a bunch of things. And I said, sergeant major, when I get out of the Army and I come back to your office, are you going to give me a paycheck when I can't feed my family, right? Because everybody wants you to work. Like 20 years in the Army, I don't know anything about being a civilian. I mean, zero about being a civilian. I don't know how to get a job. I've been in the infantry. There's not a lot that, pulls over from the infantry to the civilian world. So I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew I had to have a plan. So the first thing that I did is I backwards planned from the day I would be done with my terminal leave, the day I was getting out of the Army, until that moment that I was sitting there. And I actually wrote all that stuff down. So this is what I want to do. I want to have a job by this date. I want to have resumes out on this date. I want to do SFL TAP, that's what they still call it, by this date. So I came up with a very detail-oriented plan. And when I got that plan completed, I then went to my sergeant major and I said, hey, this is my plan. This is what I need to do to be successful for me and my family so that I can get a job when I get out. And that plan, one, it kept my feet to the fire, so I didn't spend too much time out fishing because I want to fish every day. And then two, it kept my chain of command abreast as to what I needed to do to get done. It kind of gave them a little bit of light. Hey, we don't need to give these PFCs and specialists a bunch of, CQ the day before they get out of the Army and stuff like that. So it worked well for me, worked well for my chain of command. And then I just went to it. I just went down my plan and got everything done I needed to do to get out. And then I got lucky and got the job I'm in now. So, and I remember sitting in SFL TAP, and I remember them saying, use all your contacts. You never know. You never know who's looking to hire, right? So don't be that guy to maybe the person at McDonald's, right? Just as examples. This is a McDonald's right here. I'm thinking about slushy or whatever right now. But, be nice to everybody. And so I was, at the time, I think I was about, when I first started thinking about all this stuff, I think it was about 12 to 13 months from getting out of the Army. And I was doing a home loan. And my home loan officer, who is now my boss, Scott Collins, we got about halfway through the process, and I was going fishing, had the boat all rigged up to go fishing. And he said, hey, the only thing I need is your HOA, which is Homeowners Association document. And he said, you can go right down the street. You can pick it up. It's like 3 buildings down. And I was like, you know what? I'll get it tomorrow. I don't want to do it today. I'm ready to go fishing. And then I thought, you know what? I'll just run down there. Take 5 minutes. Ran down there, got the stuff, brought it back. And he looked at me and he said, you know what? You're one of the most organized buyers I've ever had. How would you like to be a home loan officer? And I thought, well, what do you do? Because I'm retiring. I hope it's not much. That's what I'm thinking in my head. I hope it's not much. I'm retired. I want to go fish every day. And he looked at me and he said, not a lot, Chris. I don't do very much. And I was like, cool. So we sat down the next day. Ironically, he interviewed me. The funny part of this story is I told him, we got done. Well, he actually did interview me. He told me everything about the job, right? I was like, this sounds like a really easy job. And he said, well, that's all I got. And I said, you don't have any questions of me? And he said, Chris, I just went through all your finances. I know everything about you. I don't need to interview you. I know you already. So it's kind of cool. So I, talked to my wife and got the job, and I work a lot. I work like 12 hours a day. But it's fun because I get to do VA loans. I get to work with veterans. I get to work with active duty. I still get to give people advice, on how to get promoted, how to get their pay fixed. It's amazing, what soldiers don't ask their supervisors, which is probably the same thing that happened when I was in, I'm sure. And I get to still do all that stuff, hang out, trade war stories, see how the old units are doing. It's pretty fun. Good deal. Very good. Anyway.
We need to wake Matt up. He was falling asleep during the.
I'm good. I'm not. I have.
What's a home loan?
I do this every day. If I don't like pause myself, I will cut Amy off. And so I'm giving Amy the space to do her thing.
Yeah, I
don't know if you know this, but I'm a loan officer in California. I do VA loans also. So just,
yeah, so you know what I mean, man. We work all the time, right?
Work a lot more than we should. Yeah.
But it's all for good. I mean, it's helping out veterans, helping people buy first houses. The first house I ever bought, the loan officer gave me adjustable rate, interest only, subprime loan, horrible. I cannot believe still to this day that we did not foreclose on that loan. And so the way I look at my job is I still get to help veterans, and I get to steer them away from crazy stuff like that, or all that, all that stuff you get in the mail all the time. Let's get your refinance. You get like 100 of those a day, and they're all, they're all clickbait in the mail. That's all it is. Trying to get you to call and get an application done, take all your money.
You're talking about the EARLs, the refinances on VA loans that you don't have to qualify. There's no qualifying. It's very easy to do. And a lot of vets do it for the wrong reason. Like they want to skip a couple payments, or they want to, just the dumbest thing, because they get sold by these people to do this. And then they add 10 to 15 grand onto their loan, some ridiculous amount. Yep. Some of the worst ones are the ones with the actual like veteran in the name or trust or
you're right. The ones I always watch for the ones.
Or it's a new day.
I know.
Some of them are good, but a lot of people, I've seen so many loan estimates from some of those companies that go, you got to be kidding me. This is what they're adding on.
Yeah. And people will call and they'll say, Chris, they said I should do it. It's a good idea. When are you moving? Well, I'm PCSing in 11 months of selling. No, don't do that. You're only keeping the house for 11 more months. Oh, what you got? Keep your equity. It's a great program. I will be honest. Every time I personally come up for a chance to refinance because I've got a disability, so I don't have to pay the funding fee and miss 2 payments, those 2 payments back into the loan amount, and kind of start where you started at. So for me, every time I can get a half point, I'll do it. But it's not everybody's me, right? Not everybody doesn't have to pay the funding fee, and not everybody is living in their house another 4 to 10 years.
Right.
So it's really got to get in touch with somebody you trust, make sure you got, you're getting the right deal.
Well,
and the only downside with the VA loan refinance is you can't take somebody to a 15-year loan.
Right.
It's so stupid. The new change rules that happened a year or so ago, whenever it was, is the dumbest thing they did. The best thing you could do for a veteran is to take his term down, or her term down. Sorry, I don't need to be gender based, but take the term down, because they, a lot of people could go to a 1.99 or a 2% or 2.25, right? And on a 15-year loan, and their payment's the same. But now you can't do that. It has to go down a certain amount. It has to do this, has to do that. And so nobody can take advantage of it.
Yeah, you can't refinance for 210 days. 110 days, rates have gone up. Refinance 3 months from now, could have got a super low rate or whatever. Yeah, I hate that stuff. But it goes back to what you said a minute ago. Some people that got sanctioned a few years ago, and the VA said, you keep doing this, you're not doing VA loans anymore. The VA had to step in and do something.
Yeah.
So,
and by the way, it was 5 companies or so that I think they mentioned some names before. And what the problem was is there was no rule. So if someone could sell you on it, they would do it. And the problem is not everybody's us who are doing loans.
Right.
I look out, if it doesn't help my client, I only look for the best of my client, just like you do. And that's the most important thing. A lot of people don't think that way. They do what's best for them.
Yep. And pad my bank account, right? That's all they want to do.
Well,
all right, we're off on the wrong subject. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Amy, go ahead.
I was going to do Matt's question. What do you use today that you learned in the military?
Oh my! I thought you said you were going to do math questions. I was like, don't do that. I'm a history major, Amy.
And she didn't say what you don't do, like shave.
I definitely do not shave anymore. In this haircut, y'all got lucky.
I wear a hat because I don't have any hair.
It fitted good, man. I look like a homeless guy. It's awesome. I get discounts everywhere I go. So I guess the biggest thing that I carried over is, when you're a junior leader, sometimes all that leadership stuff kind of goes to your head, right? Like you're a corporal, you're E5, you're mean, you're tough, you're dogging out your guys all the time. You think the only way to teach people is by making them do push-ups and stuff. And I don't know if the Army's still like that today, but in 1998, 99, I mean, it was you dang near got violent with your privates if they didn't do the right thing, right? Or your specialists. And so as I got older in the Army, I realized that, screaming and hollering and all that stuff, most people really just kind of zone out and don't really listen to you. You can't scream and holler at people all the time. There's a point in time you're pointing your machine gun at me, I'm probably going to scream at you, right? If you're just doing the wrong thing because you don't know, well, I need to teach you the right way, and I probably haven't trained you to do the right thing in the first place. And if I did, and you had enough respect for me and my rank, you'd be doing the right thing right now. So I think one thing is I learned all that as I got older in the military, and then when I transitioned out, that just helps me with the job that I do and everything else. Helping me raise my kids. I mean, my kids they're not born with, I'm not allowed to lie. They're not born with that stuff. My kids don't lie, but they need to be taught you don't do it, and this is why you don't do it. And, you learn that as a parent as you go, and the Army helped me with that with my parenting stuff. And it helps me when transitioning out here, coaching Little League baseball and football and stuff to just have patience and train people, man. Like, you don't have to scream and holler to get the point across. Be caring and thoughtful, and you'll go a long way.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Mic drop.
Right?
Wait a minute, let me see if I got a pencil or something around here.
I'm sorry. I thought my kids all lied. So how did your kids not lie? My kids lied I opened their mouth, they were lying.
I think it's also one of two things. My wife's Korean, so there's that Korean justice that runs around the house. You don't mess with.
It's his wife.
Yeah, and then there's the whole.
She'll take them out.
Yeah.
Not only that, she's incredible. His wife is incredible, and his kids are really incredible. So
I've got a great wife. I don't know how I got my wife, but anyway, I ain't gonna ever tell her that. Maybe she won't listen to this, but she's pretty wonderful. She has stuck by me through some very, very bad PTSD times after deployments. She's a good woman, but a lot of it with the kids and stuff, I think it's a lot. Man, Dad was in the infantry, and I know what he can do. So just be straight and narrow. I'm not even gonna open my mouth around that guy.
I mean, Chris, if you need me to let them know what you do in the infantry, I can let them know. You just run around with glow belts on, looking stupid.
He runs away from his own goggles. That's what he does.
I mean,
pull a hamstring jumping out of airplanes.
I was just at 425 Airborne, and they were just a bunch of people running around with glow belts on. I had these guys jump out of planes. It's crazy.
Hey, so you'll love this. So here I am in Korea, right? My lieutenant's freaking out. I'm an E5. I mean, he's going nuts. My guys aren't ready for the mission. Where's Sergeant Maxwell at? He ain't got nobody ready. Well, we didn't know. Everybody was ready. Like, everything was done. We just had to leave. But Lieutenant didn't see any of that stuff. He just woke up, looked around, started freaking out, right? So he's screaming and hollering and going nuts. And this guy, Sergeant Maxwell, as one of my sergeant majors said, the biggest head he's ever seen is, holy cow, you got a huge head, Sergeant Maxwell. So I pick up this K-pot, and it's a K-pot because it's back in the day, right? And I shove it on my head, and it's not fitting like it's supposed to. And a lieutenant's going crazy. My platoon sergeant's going crazy. First sergeant's starting to scream and holler, Maxwell, Maxwell, Maxwell. Nobody go. I'm about to lose my job, right? For sure. I get this K-pot and squish it down on my head. get the chin strap underneath on my face. I was a lot skinnier than them. My face is like all wrenched up in this thing. And I go running, young Sergeant Maxwell over, sir, everybody's ready to go. You just got to go over there and get them. They're like ready. And everybody starts laughing. And now how does it go from I'm going to kill Sergeant Maxwell to everybody laughing? Well, it's really easy. And I never knew this. And for any young soldiers out there, this is a great thing to do if your commanders or first sergeants get really angry at you. Put your Mitch on backwards, your cape on backwards with the cat eyes in the front. Every time. Nobody be mad at you anymore. So, yeah, ran over there with the thing on backwards, man. It was great.
So when I volunteer with Travis Manion, they have a whole bunch of different character strengths, and humor is one of them. And I'd have to say, Chris, that's definitely one of your character strengths.
Yeah, I don't have any humor at all, none.
I mean, there's a shadow side to it, sir, but I think you play within both.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, if you can't make fun of yourself, you're not allowed to make fun of anybody else, right? And it's fun. Life's supposed to be fun. You're supposed to laugh every day. That's why I got these little lines on the side of my eyeballs. It's not because I'm trying to, can't stay awake or whatever. It's because I laugh all the time. Have fun, man. Life's too short. We know we're veterans. We know how short life is. So take every day. Have fun.
Definitely. So throughout your whole transition, you had a pretty easy, or not easy, but it kind of worked out for you. Were there things that you wish you would have done that maybe you didn't do, or recommend you were in transition?
Yeah, so I think the one thing that I always talk to my wife about is I probably should have took a little bit more time between retirement and starting a job. So I basically got my job and I started working before I even got out of the military. Like my sergeant major was like, hey, finally convinced of everything that I did. And I started working in July of 2016. And I didn't get out of the Army until 2017. And I really should have took that time and just had some fun, hung out with family, like I said, do some fishing, do some hunting, do all the things that I like to do, kind of catch up with my hobbies. Because when you're in the military, you lose all that. I mean, I didn't hunt. I hunted the first part of the Army. I didn't hunt again until I got out. Something I love to do. And those are stress relievers. So my big thing is that's take your time. When you get a job, you ain't got to start day one. You got a little time. Enjoy life a little bit. Again, we retire, we're 38, 40. It's not that, we're not old as dirt or nothing. But have a little fun. We worked hard. Yakima's no good.
I thought you retired at 25.
35.
29. It's always 29.
Well, it sounds to me like you need an assistant so you can go get some time off.
Well, I do have an assistant, and I have a great assistant. She's awesome. Yeah. So Angela, she's probably listening to this. I got to throw a shout out every time we get reviews. If she's not in there, she hates it. Yeah. She's got to be in my 5-star reviews. If her name's not mentioned, it doesn't count. Good assistant, really good.
Yeah. Tell her she's the one that should be talking to him at the end, because what happens here is everybody else gets in the reviews and I do not. Yeah, all my people, they're like, oh, Fab's amazing, blah, blah, blah. And she's at the end, the processor, right? Everybody else did everything all the way through, did amazing, but only the processor.
Right, it's the last person remembered. That's why I always tell them at the very end, hey, remember me.
So you're like the servers who come over just so when they drop off so they can get their tip, right? They come in right at the end. Oh, everything okay there? Do you need some water?
Everything's good, right? Yeah. Anybody cause any problems or anything? Everything's great, right? Closing go well. It's a free pen.
No, it's just really important to take care of your clients, because then they'll take care of you.
It is, and like I said, that whole transition part, you never know who's watching. I mean, you can't don't go to Costco and be what. You might end up applying there, or the guy behind you in line might work for the stage, and he might be the guy doing your interview. You just never know who's watching, who's standing around. So always do the right thing, be respectful, and you're on a job interview the moment you start to transition. Is the way I look at it.
Well, and I think we just need a kinder society anyways. We should just be nice.
We should.
Depends on the day.
Yeah.
And depends on
I think you should have a really nice personality too.
Right?
Chris and I would be cut out of that equation. Apparently, it's only a Navy show now.
Oh gosh, here we go.
Amy, I'm sorry, your Army was before. When you leave it and you go into another service, the first one doesn't count.
I believe it does.
Nope.
I believe it does.
You give it up. It's like your bachelor's, and then you get your master's. Well, your bachelor's doesn't matter; just your master's matter.
Well, but our Army time was active duty, or Navy time was reserve. So
That's just like being in the Navy anyway.
Said the Navy guy.
Yeah, I was in the medical field, man. As I tell people, it was like MASH, right? The movie, the show MASH. That's how it was, man. It was not like being in the service.
But okay.
No, just
MASH
no
is Army.
MASH. There's no Navy show about it. And I wasn't on JAG. All right.
Okay.
Definitely not that whiskey, whatever that new show was about all the medics. That was so bad.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
All right, I'm done. I'm out of here.
All right, Matt, do you have any other questions?
well, one I do like that now. Every time in the middle of the show, one of you now says, "I'm going to ask Matt's question." It's no longer Matt's question anymore. Like I used to ask it weeks ago, and now it's like. So now I got to come up with a new Matt question.
Yeah.
Chris, when was the last time you laughed so hard that you wanted to throw up?
Oh, man, actually, that's a good
Earlier
question.
today.
It was actually last night. So I have not watched Impractical Jokers in forever. And I sat down last night, and it's kind of like TikTok when you start watching that show. Like once you start watching TikTok, 5 hours later, it's like, holy cow, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I've been on TikTok for this long. I know it's a 50-year-old TikTok, whatever. But I started watching Impractical Jokers last night, and I was laughing so hard that my laughter attracted my kids, which is saying something with Xbox and PlayStation and computer games. For them to leave their room is a major miracle. Like, my wife's got to cook something really good to get them out of their room, right? So the laughter attracted my kids, who then sat down and watched Impractical Jokers with me, and we had a ball last night. I mean, I laughed so hard I woke up this morning a little sore. Those abs ain't moved like that in a long time.
Not since Christmas.
Oh,
That was mean, Ed. I'm going to tell your wife.
It's okay. I'm a mean guy.
But yeah, that's probably the last time.
Another question, Chris, because you are in proximity of like the most volunteering person in the world. Do you do any other volunteer work with vets or anything like that, or is it just what you help them with?
So I don't do much with vets anymore, but I do volunteer with youth. Like I said, with Little League, I do a lot of coaching in Little League, a little bit of basketball. I do youth football every year. I try to take guys out, and fishing with me who are vets, buddies of mine and stuff that don't really get to do that kind of thing. That's probably about the limits of what I do as far as that. The cool thing is, so we have a really good group here in DuPont. A lot of the coaches are I'd say probably 90% of the coaches for all the leagues that we have are veterans. We have a pretty tight-knit group of guys, and we're very competitive, which makes it a lot of fun. We're always competing for kids. I recruited that kid, on that street. He's going to play on my baseball team next year. And so we do a lot of that. But, keeping those kids active and keeping them off the streets and keeping them, doing something fun, keeping their mind working on something else besides just school and Xbox. And a lot of them, their parents are deployed and gone. And so it's good to kind of step in and kind of, like I say, be a father figure for them. But we know us that we're in sports. We know how important coaches were to our lives, and we still remember the good ones. We still remember the bad ones. Kind of like being in the military. You still remember your good leaders and your bad leaders. So it's an important place. Show them how to have fun and try to keep those bodies skinny and, moving forward.
He also is really good about involving me. Like when there's a veteran in need or a project, he's like, Amy, you should look into this. And so he's been, he's being humble. He's a really good guy as far as paying attention to the people around him and the needs. And so he has been integral in family grants for veterans in need in a couple different scenarios, and helped utilize some of our nonprofit arms, which has been really nice. And not all loan officers do that. A lot of them, we have some really great loan officers, but we have people that are so bogged down with working. I feel like they never look right and left to see how they can impact. And to me, you can just use me. You don't have to spend the time, but I don't know what I don't know. And Chris is great about connecting with me.
Well, a lot of times, it comes down to just listening to people. And when you're an NCO, especially, right, you sit down, you talk to privates, they ain't going to tell you the truth, or they're not going to let you know everything that's going on. So you kind of got to read those tea leaves and read between the lines and get down to business, figure out who really needs what. But it's just, you got to really listen to your clients. And it doesn't matter if it's here while they're doing home loans, or if it's down by the baseball field. You listen to one kid talk to another kid about how, mom and dad don't make enough money and they got a plumbing issue, can't take a shower, right? So those are things that we can get done and help fix stuff with the charities that we have in Fairway. So it's good. I mean, working for a really big mortgage company gives you a lot of leeway and latitude to use money to get things done to help people out and make their lives better. That's important.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's not, I guess, you don't have to be, it's good to be in an organization, right? And it's good to do all those things all the time, but you don't have to be in an organization to help somebody out. All you got to do, if you see a need, help with the need. You don't need always to be part of some, super huge place to get things done. So I get, it's good. I'm not saying don't do it at all. If you've got time, totally, volunteer your time. That's super, super important. But you don't have to do that to help people out, right?
Yep. Like Matt's friend on Tuesday, I asked him if he volunteered, and he's like, no, really, he doesn't have time because he's doing so many things with youth, which is volunteering. You know what I mean? Like, because it's not a program or through a 501c3 or something like that doesn't mean that it's not volunteering.
Exactly. You're right. You're exactly right. Yep.
But back to your listening to your clients, it's just listening to people, finding out what they really want. You need, Amy, get them Steve's book if you haven't already. That because he asked why 3 times. He talks about this in his book, and the first why is usually what they think you want to hear, and then you ask them again, and he tells them, and then finally the last why they tell you is really what's going on. So if you don't ask that why every time, but I'm just saying you have to ask them, what do they want, what do you need, and then throughout that you find out other things, and that's why it's very important. And I think it just comes from if you care, right? It's not something you learn. I mean, someone said to me the other day, you do really well this stuff. And it's like, well, I sold by the phone for so long, but I got to a point where I finally just started listening to people, whatever that is. And that helps you. And that's all we need to do is just listen. If we listen more and talk less, we would have a better society.
You are 100% correct. 100%.
And the other thing that we need to teach our kids and younger people, soft skills, how to talk to each other. Right. They never talk when they're texting all the time. And right. So that's something they have not learned. And one of the things that we need to help them learn so that if they learn those soft skills later in life, they'll be able to use it and maybe they can communicate better. So,
yeah. Have you ever been on of those video games with the headphones on. That stuff's crazy, man. That's insane. And I go, who is that guy talking? My son will be like, oh, that's so-and-so down the street. You got to be kidding me. Does his mom know that? Gosh, I hope none of them are listening. Get phone calls all night.
So Chris, before we have our wonderful new host, Amy, close us out, you got to give us one more story, because you have some great stories from the Army.
I thought you were going to have a story about Amy. I thought you wanted a story about Amy.
That was
No.
Let me think.
Hold on. What's your story about Amy?
No.
That's great. I don't have any crazy stories about Amy. I guess maybe
Make it up then.
Yeah, the only sort of, I guess, crazy story is Amy does not know this, but I knew about Amy before I knew about Amy. Does that make sense? Sort of?
I don't know.
Probably not at all.
Is her husband going to get mad?
No, she's not. Or no, he's not. So
he's in the Air Force now, so
right. So this is kind of another funny story too. But I am down at I-Corps headquarters. I got a new sergeant major. He goes down. He's meeting the Corps sergeant major, and he doesn't know anything about our unit at all, right? So he drags me and he drags the first sergeant. You two are coming with me, that way in case the sergeant major has any questions, you're there to help me out and answer questions for me. I'm like, great, thanks, sergeant major. Just where I want to go, I-Corps headquarters, right? And we're like going into the hornet's nest. We're going to go down there and we're going to sit right outside the general's office, which is a wonderful place for 2E8s to be, right? So we're sitting there for a little while. We decide, sergeant major goes into his meeting. We decide we're going to go wander around. So there is this wall, civilian famers, right, in I-Corps. And Amy is one of, right? Amy, you're a civilian Hall of Famer. Is that correct?
Yes.
See, so I knew about Amy before I knew about Amy because her picture's in there in the Civilian Hall of Fame. So then we get done, we're looking around, this is kind of cool, and I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if he's a Civilian Hall of Famer. I mean, that's kind of a big deal, right, at I-Corps. So we go back up there and we're still waiting on the sergeant major, and we sit down on the couch outside, and out walks, the I-Corps sergeant major. He walks out of his office, he walks past us, he walks like 3 or 4 steps past us, and he stops dead in his tracks. He turns around and looks at me and First Sergeant Bryant, who's a great first sergeant. He looks at me and First Sergeant Bryant, and he goes, holy, you know what? What the hell are 2E8s doing outside of my office? Something really, really, really bad must have happened if I've got 2E8s sitting outside my office. He said, you're not waiting for me, I hope. So, no, sir, we're not waiting for you. We're waiting for our sergeant major. He's then talking to the Corps sergeant major. He goes, thank God. He said, I thought this was about to become a very, very long day for me. So, kind of a funny story about I-Corps up there. Good day. I can't remember
what
who
was
that
the thing
gentleman
about
was now.
Amy? What was the thing about Amy you were talking about?
Oh, Civilian Hall of Famer.
Yeah, what's that?
Amy?
So,
I still don't know. I just saw her picture.
So, a lot of, at least at Army installations, they have, I think it's like Friends of Fort Bragg. I don't know what all the different installations name them, but they're different people in their environment. Usually, they lowered the bar for me, but they're usually like, it's Norm Dix, it's, congressmen or people who are vice presidents of financial institutions and different things that are there, and then me. And it's just for my volunteerism. And General Lanza, I don't know if he was the Corps general when you were there, Chris. Mm-hmm. But he asked me to do some different projects with inner city kids in Tacoma and pair them up with the 2nd Stryker Brigade. And while doing that, we had some really neat impacts, and it's a really funny story for another day. But I think that is the reason why. However, I would say somebody did say that I was the only person that got more units put me in for it, more units than anybody else. And I think that's because, you know, like when you're a political person or whatever, you usually maybe do one thing with one group. And because I do so much volunteering, I worked and supported all the different units on post. If you had a need, I'd meet it. In fact,
So
I'd even figure out.
Why were you
what-
discounting yourself then?
Yeah.
It sounds to me like
Well,
you're more
Right.
important than the other people that had done that for political reasons than someone who's doing it for helping other people, period.
Right. Unselfish.
Unselfishly, yeah. So
Wait.
stop knocking it. Just say thank you and move on. Back
thank
to Chris
you,
being
Chris.
Yeah. That's the hardest thing for people to do, isn't it?
humor. Yes, saying thank you.
Not deflect.
Yeah.
Take credit, Amy. You're great.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
We
the
love
hardest
you.
thing for
Army loves
veterans.
you.
Yeah, for veterans to do, ask for help or say thank you for the stuff that they just do. Right? They just
Oh, yeah.
thank you. Yeah, it's the hardest thing.
It is.
Well, and I really feel like I get so much from my giving. Like I absolutely love to volunteer, so I don't feel like it's, like I get so much back from it, so I feel like I'm already thanked. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
Don't
Yeah,
talk
whatever.
about yourself.
Yeah.
And for our listeners that don't know, go back a few episodes and watch Amy, and you'll figure out why she's so badass.
She is definitely badass. We love having her around. She's fun.
And Amy, when you're running the show, you're the one that also has to say we're at the end of the show. And
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're at
otherwise,
the end of the
because we're
show.
waiting for you to do that,
Let's
and then
keep
we'll
going.
be here forever. We're gonna go. Okay.
All right. We're at the end of our show. Thank you, everybody who's listening in. Thank you so much, Chris, for gracing us with your stories and your humor. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's
Thank
it.
you very much.
Yeah.
This is fun.
That's it, Amy. Good job.
Great job, Amy.
Chris, hang on one second. Everyone else, if you're out here you go, Amy. Here's a lesson for you. If anybody else out there watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to us somewhere else, subscribe. Tell somebody about helping the brave. And if you know people that can be on the show, share their story or help veterans transition, let us know. And Chris, hang on, and everyone else, have a great day.